Buddhism. And I said, oh, I was just sort of talking out loud to myself, that must be Satipatthana. And a voice said, you practice Satipatthana? And I looked up, and there was a yellow-robed monk who spoke English, standing in charge of the bookstall. He was kind of red-eyed. And I looked at him and said, well, not exactly. I practice Zen. Oh, Zen, not Satipatthana. Well, I said, it's all kind of the same thing. It's like yoga. No, Satipatthana, not yoga. Now, listen, I said, you Buddhists are supposed to be open-minded and to believe that there are many, many ways of realization. No, Satipatthana, only correct way. Well, I said, you talk like a Roman Catholic. They say they have the only true way. I said, you know what you're like. You've got a ferry boat concession. A ferry boat concession to take a ferry across the river. And a few miles down the river, somebody else opens up a ferry boat. And you complain to the police and the government. Say, he shouldn't open up because he's in competition with me. Now, the truth of the matter is this. I'm talking still about the economics of spirituality. In London, there's a street called Harley Street, where every eminent physician and surgeon wants to have an office. This was years ago. And so Harley Street became completely full with physicians and surgeons. Well, you would say, naturally, they were all in competition with each other. But nothing of the kind happened. They all became equally prosperous. So that they had to open up Wimpole Street, which was the next street to Harley Street. And when they had filled that up, they opened up Welbeck Street, which ran along next to it. And when they filled that up, they got Queen Anne Street, which ran parallel. And the whole area is nothing but physicians, surgeons, and dentists. And they're all fantastically prosperous because they've got the right address. See, once you've got into Harley Street, you're there. So it's like you're a guru, and you set up in Sausalito or Big Sur or Hollywood, whatever, you know, you're in the right place. And we can take any number, and they're all, the more we have, the more prosperous everybody will be. This is the economics of plenty. And it's all based, you see, if you really work it right, it's based on a big turnover. You don't try to capture people. You don't try to make them faithful to you. You don't want to tie them up. But you see, if you do that and you set them all free, you really get them going. That's what you're supposed to do. That's your job, to liberate. And then they're grateful and they send their friends to you. So, the craft of mysticism you see, I just want to be very frank with you because after all, you pay to come to these seminars. And in India, it's considered very, very immoral to ask for money for spiritual teaching. But that's a different culture from ours. In the United States, it would be immoral not to ask money. Because in the United States, people disrespect anything they get free. And they have to give money as a token of their sincerity, just as, say, in India or in China, you have to give something else. You have to wait a long time. You have to be persistent in token of your sincerity. But in this country, the hang-up is money. So naturally, one asks for money. A person like myself only needs a relatively small amount of money. And so, if you make an awful lot of it by being a successful guru, you give the rest away. Or do something creative and imaginative. Allen Ginsberg has a foundation He makes a great deal of money by being a crazy poet. And he gives all that he doesn't need to help other poets. So then, the point I'm making is this. Meditation, you are not trying to gain anything, to alter your state of mind from what it is now into some other state which you think it ought to be in. You are centering in where you are. But you see, the difficulty for us with this is that we do everything. We even eat, we play, we dance, under the fundamental assumption that all this is good for us. We go to concerts to improve our culture, to the theater, to the movie, in order to be able to say we have become more educated. We have improved. And as a result of this kind of motivation, we don't really do those things at all. If you go to the concert to become more cultured, you are not really listening. So meditation, above all things, because it's got a slightly disciplinary flavor to it, a slightly religious flavor to it, is something that people use somehow to get ahead in the game of spiritual one-upmanship. And I get sick and tired of people who go and study Zen and come back and brag about the long hours of meditation they put in and how much their legs hurt and what a great ordeal it was and how good it was for them and how you who haven't gone through this discipline are a kind of underling. See, I've had this put on me for years because I didn't go to Japan and didn't sit around in zendos and worked it my own way. And they say, well, you're just a dilettante, you see. You haven't suffered as much as we have. And you really ought to suffer. You ought to put up with those long endurance tests. Now, the reason why in meditation one sits in a certain way, whether you sit like I'm sitting now, or whether you sit in the lotus posture, your legs become a little uncomfortable. And the reason for that is not self-punitive. It's merely that it helps you to stay awake. That's all. And if you were floated in a hot tub with supporters in a completely dark room, in a sensory deprivation chamber, you would very likely go to sleep. But the point in meditation is to be wide awake, without, however, the intellectual chatter going on in the head. And so a posture which involves a very certain subordinate degree of discomfort keeps you awake. Actually, when you get used to sitting this way, I can sit this way without extreme discomfort for at least 40 minutes, even longer. And it becomes natural. But as I explained, the point is to be wide awake and aware of your total sensory input without confusing it with the symbolic world of words and concepts, so that you experience life naked and directly. Experience you naked and directly, without having in your head the concept of who you are as a role player, as a personality, as an ego. And this becomes, in due course, a very pleasant thing to do, so that meditation becomes not something that you put in so much time at, like you might put in time in a jail, but becomes a pleasure. Of course, from the point of view of our religion in the United States, that's almost sinful. Religion isn't supposed to be a pleasure, because it's supposed to be joining with Christ in suffering on the cross.
As bad as I thought it would be.
There's enough inevitable suffering going on anyhow. You're going to die one of these days. Everybody encounters difficulties in their lives. You don't need to go out of your way to seek them. So now, there are two fundamental approaches to meditation. One, you see, this morning, Charlotte was getting us to bounce on our heels and to stretch as tightly as we could to overcome gravity. And then after that, she said, see what happens when you don't do it. So one of the methods of meditation is to stretch as tightly as possible, to concentrate with your whole energy on a point, and to use the maximum amount of effort. You say in yoga there's an exercise called kumbha, which is a way of breathing, which is it's a kind of force, holding the breath as long and as tightly as you can. That was like the stretching we did. That's like those people who, say, in the Tendai temple up on Mount Hiei over Kyoto, who practice bowing. Thousands and thousands of bowings. They stand up, they kneel down and prostrate themselves on the floor, get up again, stand up, kneel down, prostrate them on the floor. And there are those Tibetan monks who do the Lungompa, running through the mountain trails with enormous leaps. And they do like Nijinsky could do those leaps where, you pause a little bit in the air and seem to overcome gravity and then drop again. And they go on and on and on, bouncing along a road. Or there are other pilgrims who prostrate themselves at every step, traveling a long journey. There are people who run the streets of Kyoto, 100 miles through the streets of Kyoto every day at a jog trot. There are all kinds of things like that, where you work yourself to a limit in struggle. Because in doing that, you get a thing which runners call second wind. And second wind in running is where you are no longer running, but it runs you. Where, in other words, the ego energy in the running is displaced and the energy of the whole organism takes over. And that is all the energy of the whole universe. When you get second wind. So you get second wind in this fierce kind of meditation. Alternatively, there's another way in. And in this way is a kind of so-called easy way. And one uses it for a different type of personality. There are certain people who must have the difficult way because they don't know they exist unless they're sitting on a spike. And those kind of people who don't believe they're real unless they hurt have to follow the difficult way. But there is a subtle way, which is the Taoistic approach, wherein instead of trying to master and dominate your body-mind, you let go of it. And you let it do whatever it wants to do. Let's suppose, for the sake of example for a moment, you just close your eyes and allow your eardrums to respond to any sound going on. There are no proper sounds or improper sounds. You may feel free to shift, shuffle, cough, sneeze as you will. Don't try to identify, locate, or name the sounds that you hear. Just let the rippling air play with your eardrum. And as you hear the sound of my voice coming across to you, listen to what I have to say simply as the tones. Your brain will take care of understanding. You don't try to understand. In other words, allow your ears to hear anything they want to hear.
Where's your playlist taking you? Down the highway? To the mountains? Or just into daydream mode while you're stuck in traffic? With over 4,000 hotels worldwide, Best Western is there to help you make the most of your getaway. Wherever that is. Because the only thing better than a great playlist is a great trip. Life's the trip. Make the most of it at Best Western. Book direct and save at bestwestern.com.
Stay so marvelously different. That's why the Buddhists say, difference is identity. Identity is difference. It sounds goofy, but it makes a great deal of sense, because what it's saying is a relational thing. That you don't know what identity is unless you know what difference is, and you don't know what difference is unless you know what identity is. That relationship between so-called opposites is called in the Chinese technical Taoist vocabulary mutual arising. So they say to be and not to be arise mutually. High and low are mutually posited. Long and short are mutually delineated, and so on. Now, what we see then is the totality of the cosmos focused at each point, you see, gives rise to the illusion of the independence of the point from the whole. Just as the human being, by virtue of having an enclosed epidermis, and to be able to walk instead of having to be rooted to the ground, presents the illusion of being separate. And so that's why I asked Vada to do these demonstrations last night, because he showed visually the interdependence of the figure and the background, and how the two play together, how you can switch from paying attention to one to paying attention to the other, and in each case it's significant. But that is an art that we have lost in our day-to-day perception of life, and it leads, practically speaking, to the serious problem of ecological blindness. That is to say, to the ignorance which most human beings seem to suffer from, especially in our culture, that they are inseparably related to their physical environment. It looks as if we aren't. It looks as if we can go out with bulldozers and insecticides and every kind of a gadget and make over our physical environment as it suits our whims. But then we discover to our consternation that we've upset all sorts of balances. That the house we made such a nice flat lot for on the hillside suddenly slides down the hill when there's a rainstorm because we took away all the shrubbery that was binding the hill together.
Why would you do that to her? She's on.
And you know, this happens in Hollywood every day.
It's not.
And
But I still was attacked. When that whole thing came out, when she
and nobody ever seems to learn.
rabbi for being against Christ the King,
and that's, you see,
saying Christ the King is anti-Semitic, and she was getting criticized by Jews as an anti-Semite. Immediately, this is about 14 months ago, she says, "No, I'm not an anti-Semite." As soon as you say that, the Jews got you. Because they will keep on saying to you, "But you say this, you do that. You said this the other day. This was your position 3 weeks ago. You are an anti-Semite. There's no way you can get out of that trap you put yourself into as soon as you get defensive with the Jews. They will keep on nailing you." So I said, people, don't trust this woman. Then when she was called out again, and at some debate where she said, "Well, you keep on accusing it's the Jews, it's the Jews. You sound like a broken record." She says, "No, it's not really the Jews, it's the Frankists." I mean, this is just laughable. But I don't want to get into the Frankists. They were just a fringe group, and they didn't last long. Nobody ever heard of them. So all of a sudden it's the Frankists. Now, as far as her not wanting to come on with Nick Fuentes, I will give you the very practical reason that she will not do it. Because she will lose her YouTube account. That's why. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Wait, real quick. So you're the dude in the picture, right? You're him?
Are you him?
And this is me. I do streams all the time. I do videos all the time. This is me.
That's dope. He's in here.
One second, bro. You are very excited. Welcome to JQ Radio, guys. We have a lot of very awesome guests. Waz is a little excited. Is this your first day on Spaces?
No, I've been in Spaces for a long time, but mostly for sports shit. But real quick.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you are breaking free from the Jewish mind control, and you can come hang out with us here. Do you guys, Brother Nathaniel and Waz, you are in for a treat, boss. Just mute up real quick. I'm going to remind Brother Nathaniel why he left the Jewish congregation here by bringing up pamphlet in his hand, wearing his mom's tank top. And is that a flag of Israel behind the American flag there? I'm not sure, but Republican.
Oh God, not this guy yet.
Hold on. How much do you love JQ Radio?
Well, I actually did enjoy Brother Nathaniel's videos for quite a while, but I think his Jewish derangement syndrome makes your Jewish derangement syndrome look about like 2080. Brother Nathaniel is the ultimate Jewish derangement syndrome, mental health psychopath. And you guys...
You can't be up here. I'm sorry, buddy. You're going to have to listen. Can't talk like that in Spaces, boys. It's not... Look, it's because we can't lose this main account. Everything that everyone says, it's all on behalf of the JQR hosts up there. You see him up there looking cool with the mogs on. Cannot disappoint that account, so I'm very sorry. I just have to do it. Per TOS, apologies. I'll let you back up after a timeout, after you think about what you've done. Anyway.
What have I done? You and Brother Nathaniel suffer from terrible Jewish derangement syndrome. Go to Tel Aviv, go to Jerusalem. They're just people working a job, paying their taxes. You guys are fucking creating propaganda and hate speech all the time. You're all deranged and delusional. I mean, what do you do with your life? Brother Nathaniel has created 1 million fucking videos. He's probably generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations. I mean, maybe he's successful living on that mountaintop talking on the internet all these years. But I don't think he's got a wife and kids. I mean, you know, he's the Albert Einstein of Jewish derangement syndrome. I mean, Brother Nathaniel is the ultimate internet troll. He's the greatest. He's like Matthew Lesko, but the Jewish hate version.
Called him the fraud of Jewish derangement syndrome by likening him to Einstein. So slow your roll, all right?
I'm just saying, Brother Nathaniel is like Matthew Lesko, but the Jewish hate version, and it's this. It's the same shtick. He's a comedian, and he's trolling you guys. Brother Nathaniel's like the Jewish derangement syndrome Rodney Dangerfield. He's an amazing comedic genius, but nobody takes him seriously. Not even Vladimir Putin.
Can you shut up? Let Brother Nathaniel respond. What is this? Are you that insecure?
No, I mean, wait till you hear Brother Nathaniel respond. He's insecure. Brother Nathaniel is the JDS. Talk to him. He's the guy you want to talk to. You guys love Hitler. You hate the Jews. Talk to Brother Nathaniel. He's a self-hating Jew.
We're trying to listen to him respond.
Brother Nathaniel is the JDS. Talk to him. He's the guy you want to talk to. You guys love Hitler. You hate the Jews. Talk to Brother Nathaniel.
Well, I would say I'm the Nikolai Tesla, not the Albert Einstein. It was Nikolai Tesla who's the true genius, not this Jew Einstein. All he could do is do something destructive, but he stole everything from Tesla. So you're wrong right there. So the end of the story. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, guys, it's amazing. We name names. We name some. We were talking about Harvey Weinstein. We're talking about Epstein. We're talking about some of the most deranged and evil people this planet, our time has seen. And it turns into, you're just talking about some cashier in Israel. No, we're not.
I want to talk about Harvey Weinstein a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
I mean, if you really look at this prima facie, and if you really look at Candace Owens wanting to interview him, to get in good with the Jews and to keep her YouTube channel, I look at it at face value. There was 80 women, I believe, maybe more, who had credible testimonies that this man performed sexual abuse on them, molested them. This is very strong, that held up in court, that got this man convicted for 23 years in prison. That's it. There's no, well, there was a setup, or there's a reason, he's got something to say, he did a documentary that could, no. You have 80 women. Look it up. It's a matter of fact. It's a matter of court record. He was put in prison legally and justifiably, period. Now Candace Owens, who has to play to the Jews to keep her YouTube channel, to keep some kind of public presence that, oh, I'm not an anti-Semite, I'm very balanced, I'm willing to interview him to hear his side of the story. We heard his side of the story in court. He lost.
So Brother Dan, do you think he was the only Jewish executive in Hollywood committing sexual assault or using quid pro quo?
For some reason, it was him that these women decided to go after. 80 of them. Now, was it a conspiracy? I don't think so. As far as Epstein not wanting anything to do with them, I never saw that. I never heard that.
You don't think it was? You don't think it was the media, the executives in the media, who were laser focused?
It was too many women. One woman came up. One woman came up. Then another woman came up. Then more women came up because they got brave enough to speak up. If you look at the history of that, which I did, I saw woman after woman after women, and it just snowballed where 80 of them. It's a matter of court record. So this is not a media-induced thing. They did decide, well, let's give these other guys a break, and let's just go after him like a scapegoat. No. Enough women were brave enough to say, this is what this guy did. So I'm going to take it at face value there, but I'm also going to look more at Candace Owens. She is not a representative of a white Christian collective that can topple a Jewish racial collective, which has 100% monopoly control over America now. I've been saying this since I started on Twitter, after I got bounced by every damn venue in the world. So I went to Twitter and I started talking about it. That only a white Christian collective that historically has put down the Jews and has historically made laws that you have to prevent, by law, Jews to have civil power, financial power, educational power. That would mean today they can't have anything to do with the press or the media. And I would add it today that they cannot have any juridical power. They cannot have any power as lawyers or judges. And the three people that did this were leaders of a people that wanted to protect their nation and their people. Justinian the Great of the Byzantine Empire, 6th century AD. Then you have the May Laws by Alexander III, Tsar Alexander III, whose part of the Jews killed Alexander II, and he made the May Laws in 1887. Then you have Adolf Hitler of the Third Reich, who put the Nuremberg laws into the legal realm, and he went even further. A Jew could not marry a German person. So there you have it, and he confiscated their property, which is my next realm that I'm looking into, because I've been tweeting this all over the place. All these anti-Semitic, these laws to put Jews out of power. Now they're in full power in America today, and Trump is a cut for the Jews, constantly cutting for the Jews. I don't trust this thing with this white genocide thing in Africa, South Africa, not at all. It's easy to call off some Schwarzer, put the Schwarzer on TV, get CNN and make a fool out of them. Why didn't he do that with Netanyahu? No.
Brother Nathaniel, as far as current day politics, would you agree that African Americans are the base of the Democratic Party?
No, Jews are the base. Jews funded.
I'm African
Your
American.
biggest funder of the Democratic Party today are two people: Michael Bloomberg, and George Schwartz.
As far as voting power, would you agree that African Americans are the base of the Democratic Party?
No, Jews. Jews are the voting power. But they decide to switch hats and
I
pretend
don't
they're
believe in
Republicans.
Democrats. I don't believe in Democrats at all.
All right, guys, hold on. We're going to practice this thing called impulse control, where you raise your hand and then I call on you to speak. So I'm going to go to Craigsman because he's the only one with his hand up. And Brother Nathaniel, but you can stay up here with us.
I
you
just
can stay
want
up
to
here
make a
with us.
statement.
I just don't want to.
I want to make a statement about myself.
Go ahead.
I was born in 1950. I grew up in a Jewish home. I grew up in a synagogue in traditional Judaism. I grew up in a home in a synagogue where after the rabbi gave a little short portion of the Torah reading and the prophetic reading, he would launch into a political sermon. I grew up in this. I understand the whole Jewish realm. I understand both the religious realm and the political realm of Jews better than anyone.
If Jews only make up 4% of the voting bloc in the Democratic Party, how are they the base of the Democratic Party?
Because Jews
they're all
vote
the
Democrat.
funders.
Jews vote Democrat.
But even if all 4% that vote in the Democratic Party voted for the Democratic official, the Democratic elected official, the president, they still couldn't sway the election.
Do you understand that you
Because
are trying to claim
Trump was a setup.
you were
The Jews
you
set
are
him
trying
up
to
to
claim
win because they knew he was going to keep the genocide going.
So you are trying to claim at this point that the black voters control the Democratic Party. Not that they're being used as pawns, but that they're principally the whole reason any Democrat ever wins. Okay, Biden is an avid racist. Have you ever seen his clips talking about black people from before he tried to run for president?
Thank you.
He is a
That's what I
complete
wanted.
racist.
Thank you.
So you guys elected that guy.
And that proves my point about the black elite and why if the black elite gets out of control, gets out of hand, and they turn bad on the Jewish power brokers, the money, then it's a threat to their entire system. That's the reason why you
black elite are you talking about?
That's the reason the Bill Cosbys and the Puff Daddy.
Bill Cosby is
There's no threat to the system.
And that's the reason why you see this black girls
Hold on, stop.
Black women are
talking
the
for a
backbone
second.
of the Democratic
You are
Party.
making all of us dumber. Stop talking for a second. You are talking about Bill Cosby is a black elite, the guy who was drugging girls and raping them. That guy.
Before.
Are you kidding me?
That's
him. Hold on. Be quiet. They didn't destroy him. He was giving girls GHB and raping them. He destroyed himself. Who destroyed him?
How long was
the guy
he
was
doing
a freak.
that before they destroyed him?
He's a criminal. Dude, I'm not going to talk about Bill Cosby. This is retarded. How long did
you know he was doing that?
You were telling me. I thought you meant black elite, like Kanye. He was the richest black man on the planet at some point.
I mean, the rich and famous. The richest.
Trillion, I can confirm that back in the 70s
Cosby was
and
doing that
80s.
for 30 years. You don't think they knew he was doing that for 30 years?
Who knew that he was doing that?
What's that?
Can I make a point here? This is
This is
rudimentary.
stupid.
It's rudimentary, right? It's limited scope of how they operate. So the country understood that the left was going in a direction that was antithetical to American beliefs. They knew that they were getting tired of Jewish supremacy, but the Jewish question wasn't mainstream yet. They had to create a problem, manufacture a problem, and then throw it to the right. They are two arms of the same entity, and it's just an illusion that they create. So you think, oh, well, the blacks are the arm of the Democratic Party. They're the force behind the Democratic Party. If the blacks didn't vote for the Democratic Party, then they would vote for the right. Well, that's just rudimentary because the Jews are on the right too. So there is no voting your way out of. There is no left or right argument. As soon as one side is fed up, or the country becomes fed up with one side, they switch over and switch oppositions. It's just a game that they play. It's the illusion that we think we have control over the current political system, and we do not. It's like what. In fact, this goes right back to the Nick Fuentes thing that we were talking about the Matrix, where everything is just a reality TV show, man. And you're caught up in the paradigm that somehow black community being in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party is somehow going to affect change. The only change that we're going to be able to affect is continue pushing the Jewish question until they're so uncomfortable that they leave. We have to break the paradigm of left and right. It does not exist. So you've got some catching up to do. That's
Voting doesn't exist. Are you saying voting is a farce?
Voting.
Absolutely, yes. Kamala Harris was put into play to throw the election to Donald Trump. She was an optics pick. It was just a sham, man. They never intended to elect Kamala Harris. Not one time. They wanted Donald Trump to win.
They literally fake shot Donald Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, in order to try to create solidarity around Trump. I mean, if you don't understand that it's like Hollywood.
Why even let Kamala Harris run? Why not just keep Biden as demented as he was, if that's the case?
He has cancer.
Well, they wanted to remember what happened is she essentially cooed Biden. Remember what happened with that nobody saw Biden ever sign?
If they get Trump in, then that would have just allowed them to reach their goal. What's that?
Didn't it work? They got Trump in.
If Biden was in as demented as he was, if this is what the plan was, then that would have just allowed Trump to get in even easier.
Biden couldn't talk. That was the reason.
Yeah, Biden couldn't talk. They essentially took him out of the race. How many delegates did Kamala win on the Democratic side? Whoa, it doesn't matter.
A farce to get Trump in. None of that matters, right?
That's a joke.
I don't think
You gotta understand, gentlemen.
All right, guys. No, we're gonna do actual hands. I know if you've been up here before, we like you, you're cool, but please show some hands, okay? That's how we're going to do it. And just because it turns into mush, nobody can understand what you guys are saying. Craig's in. I called on him before. He's had his hand up. We'll go over to Mir, who's another, appears to be a black man. Go ahead, Craigsman. We'll go to Mir.
I was just gonna say, I find it interesting how he says white nationalist, like it's a bad thing. Why are white people slandered when we want to preserve our culture, preserve our values, preserve our countries? But when other countries, when other races, when other cultures do it, it's not only encouraged, it's supported. Not only financially, but also militarily sometimes. If you can give me a single justification as to why white people shouldn't be able to preserve their own culture, preserve their countries, then maybe we might take your opinion a little more seriously.
It's very simple. It's very simple to answer that question. It's because the white
guy... I think he's asking me that question.
Well, you can wait and have your hand up. What is this privilege bullshit? I'll let him answer, but keep your hand up. I might want to ask Amir. He's black. Why are you stepping on him, man? That's black on black. Like,
Well, the question was directed to me.
okay, well, can you leave your hand up? Do you not understand how this works? Okay, leave your hand up, and I will call on you when I want to hear from you. What? Like, it's ridiculous, this privilege bullshit. What if Mir has an answer? All right, maybe we'll go to you after that.
Just talk.
Okay.
No answer. I join this space a lot of the times at night. I'm a welder. I love spaces. You hear a bunch of different opinions on life and how people view their life. And I love it. That's all I wanted to say. DQ, love the space, man.
So would you agree with the previous, I don't even know what you would call that, that the black elite is the biggest threat to the white race in America? Would you agree with that?
No, there's a lot of blacks that don't believe in that whole ideology of, oh, we just defend what Democrats believe in, because I don't have a Democratic value on life. I have a Republican value on life. So him saying that, it's just arrogance, and people just be talking sometimes.
People be smoking something sometimes. Go ahead, Brother Nathaniel.
Okay, the point is this. Look at who's trying to be destroyed. Go to Google, go down to Yandex. Put in white couple with white children. You're not going to find it. Now, why is that? Because the Jews are genociding the white race. Why is it in our public schools you have critical race theory? Why? That children beginning at kindergarten should see themselves as bigots if they're white. Now, who created this particular curriculum? I'll tell you who. She's a Jew. Her name is Randy Weingarten. She's the head of the American Federation of Teachers. And it was my father who introduced me to the whole realm of Jewish control. All right. Not that he was against it, but he wanted me to know it. She's married to a woman, a rabbi. She's a lesbian. She hates the white Christian collective because a white Christian collective will tell her you're committing sin by being married to a lesbian. You think the Jews want to hear that they're sinning? No, they want to tell the white Christian that they don't believe in human rights. See, that's how they'll take something depraved and they'll turn it into a meme, like this whole lobby called the Human Rights Society. This is the one that pushes politically, that pushes through legislation with tons and tons of Jew donors, like the one who used to own Twitter. I forget his name, Elliot. Okay? This is the reason that you cannot defend your white race. The Jews won't let you. They will call you a bigot. They will call you a racist. But anybody else who wants self-determination for their race, like Jews in Israel, that's just fine. But for a white man, no, you're a racist. You're a bigot. You've got problems. You have a history of racism. Your children are being taught that.
Guys, it's very simple. The white Christian nationalists, the reason they're so, they try to berate it so much and make it seem evil and Nazis and Hitler is because that is the ultimate threat to their power structure.
I want to speak to this nationalist idea. The white Christian culture in America, up to the open immigration law of 1965, did not have to identify themselves as nationalists. It was a nationalist realm. It was white Christian culture. It was a white Christian consensus. Yes, the Jews started subverting it with the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. They knew little by little they would take over the WASP, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. So the white culture, the white ethnic, ethnos means American. It doesn't mean a race. So the white racial ethnic American was always nationalist because it was a consensus. And I always say to people that say, you're not white. You can't speak for the white people. Listen, I was born in 1950. This was 99.9% white. It was 99% white culture. It had a white, 99% white Christian worldview of right and wrong, of a common language, of a common outlook, of a common worship, of a common ethic, of a common trust society. If you dropped your wallet somewhere walking downtown, if you dropped your wallet in the grocery store or supermarket, you knew you were going to get that wallet back. Because we had a trust society where everybody cared for one another, that wallet would be picked up and given back to you. Or if it was found, it would be turned into the local police department. They'd call you and say, hey, we got your wallet. But that doesn't exist today. And the reason it doesn't exist today, the main culprit is the Open Immigration Law of 1965. This was pushed by the American Jewish Committee, and their promo boy was Jacob Javits. Open the floodgates when it was passed. And every third world country and their 13th cousin came here. The quotas were dropped. That was the ruin of America.
That was quite good, Brother Nathaniel. I'll give you a quick round of applause for that one. I enjoyed that rant.
Well, I have a dozen encores to that, too, because I grew up in this. I saw this as a kid. I didn't like it, but I saw it. My father introduced me to the political world when I was 6 years old. He introduced me to the whole Jewish power realm throughout until I was 17.
Could I ask you how? What was your first experience with that? Like, what is the first thing that your father told you about those Jews?
Well, my first experience was going to the B'nai B'rith meetings. Does anybody here know what B'nai B'rith is? It's the umbrella group. It's global that funds and controls the Anti-Defamation League, the B'nai B'rith. Okay? So we had, after every Shabbat service, B'nai B'rith meeting. So my dad decided, because he was a big macher there, okay? My dad was a big businessman and a big macher at the synagogue. He pretty much controlled the whole curriculum for our Shabbat school. So he brought me up, and no one said, Shlomo, you can't have your boy there because nobody messed with my dad. Okay, so there I am sitting there. Okay, and the first thing I hear is a speaker gets up, and we have the new mayor coming up. I think his name was Flaherty, because it was still Irish Catholic oriented. And the question is he going to be good for the Jews? This is the first thing I heard. And I thought to myself, this is good for the Jews. Well, he's the mayor of Pittsburgh. Is he going to be good for Pittsburgh? Then the next meeting, there was some state legislator. See, when the Jews bring this up at the B'nai B'rith meeting, that means are we going to send money? Are we going to support the campaign? That's what that's all about. So it's the same question. Will he be good for the Jews? Will he be good for our interests? And in that time, in 1956, the whole Zionist program was not big in the synagogues. It was not. It wasn't until the mid-60s that this thing came up. So most in my synagogue were not Zionists at that time. My dad eventually became anti-Zionist. All right, so it was just who's going to be good for the Jews? Who's going to be good for what the Jews want to promote? Okay, is he going to be a Democrat that'll support labor? Is he going to be a Democrat that'll keep us out of the wars? That was a Democrat position at one time, to keep us out of wars. So I kept on hearing this over and over at these B'nai B'rith meetings. Is this one going to be good for the Jews? State legislator, a congressman, a governor. And after 2 years of hearing this, I said, well, my goodness. This is all about not what's good for Pittsburgh, our county, our state, our country. It's always Jewish interests. So I didn't like it because my dad made sure when he moved from a very Jewish neighborhood, he wanted us to move into a more mixed neighborhood of Mount Lebanon in Pittsburgh, where there were Jews and there were Presbyterians and there were Catholics, because he wanted us children, because there was 3 of us, to get a good sense of American life.
Yeah, that's a great point. And when that goes unchecked, and this is not just happening in that one. I mean, this is what yields the problem that we're in. By the way, I wanted to thank you, Mir, for being a listener. You seem pretty level-headed. Brother Nathaniel, thanks for hopping in. Let's go up to AJ. AJ, why don't you hop in? I think Mir still had his hand up, so you could go after. And then we'll let the transatlantic slave trade descent, whatever the hell that is, we'll let him back up here, but he can't control himself, so he's going to have to sit in the goo until we're ready to hear from him. So, AJ, hit it.
My bad, I'm working. I wasn't really able to hear all that, but what's this museum attack, bro? This is insane. This is fucked. They're gonna milk the shit out of this. Holy fuck.
Yeah, so we don't know. Honestly, we don't know the details for anybody.
I was already looking into it, and pretty suspicious, I gotta say. Just the location alone of the building. It's in a part of DC that's absolutely dead. After like working hours, after like 9 to 5, it's like nobody's there. There's no like nothing because it's right next to all the courts. It's right next to the Superior Grand Jury Court, all the DC like circuits. It's literally across the street from the FBI building, the First Trinity Lutheran Church, and the GW Law Center, and all those law enforcement buildings. I also found that it was.
Wait, it's Israeli diplomats? It's 2 diplomats?
Well, that's what all these shill accounts are trying to say. And I would caution with that rhetoric because a lot of Jewish Americans have Israeli passports, so they could, a little switcheroo here and there. They can all of a sudden claim that they're diplomats. I mean, it's.
It says employees. It says Israeli embassy employees.
Okay,
Yeah.
well we'll see about that. But I'd like to just preliminary noticing is that the president Chris Wolf, he used to be his prior job to be the president of this Capitol Jewish Museum is he was on the board of the ADL. He was also on the board of GW Hospital. For anybody, I mean, I think we need to keep an eye on where these bodies are going or the injured people. If they're going to be going to GW Hospital, that'll be a little bit sus. He was also on the board of WETA, which is like PBS, National Broadcast Service, and National Symphony Orchestra, whatever. I mean, there's a bunch of board members and things like that. Obviously, it's just. Oh, and what were they doing, or what were they hosting? What kind of event tonight? It was a LGBTQ trans event. That they were hosting.
Was Shmooey there?
The timing is literally impeccable. Holy fuck, these people are brilliant fucking demons, bro. Holy
Guys, let's
shit.
try out with the cursing a little bit, brother. I know we can one or two fly, but yeah,
I apologize.
Okay. It's just because people leave their phone and it's just playing that their kids running around and all that. So, we're trying to be good examples here. I appreciate you, AJ. Yeah, no, it's some scary stuff, and the timing could not be any more sus. We're going to keep an eye on it. And John, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I'm just reading the art. It initially does not say diplomats, so let's put that in the memory banks. It could turn into diplomats. We don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that, with a little bit of manipulation, they could practically transform ananybody, any sort of government worker or whatever, into, an Israeli diplomat just by virtue of, the things these people are capable of is limitless. Also, I'd like to mention that right underneath all these areas, there are freeways, underground freeways, because so you could even the pictures that I posted in the thing that I put in the nest, you can kind of see the where there's actually like underpasses. And the reason I'm mentioning is that all these buildings are also connected, underground. So this is just suspicious as hell. I'm sorry, this is crazy.
That is, two people got shot in front of the FBI building. Did the FBI shoot them by any chance? Because they sure like planting pipe bombs at the Capitol. Very weird. Very weird. All right, guys. Are we ready? Oh, no, go ahead, John. You can finish.
Well, it's just an event there. It's like in no man's land. Like, nobody goes around that area at night because it's just, there's nothing there. It's not even restaurants are open around there.
Who are they blaming it on? Do we have any idea who they're blaming it on?
I don't know. Give it give it like 5 minutes. I don't know. They're so quick to jump. Let's look at the media, and all these accounts, on X. It's they're so quick to react, and it's it almost seems like they were given their talking points. I don't know. It reeks.
Yeah, sorry to derail it, but this is shocking. This is very, very
I mean,
unfortunate.
is this what they're going to use to...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys. Okay, are we ready for the continuation of this? Brother Nathaniel, why don't you go first? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's a continuation, just to vindicate Nick Fuentes. Yeah, let me turn this hand off. And then a couple other things I want to say about the FBI. And Cash, our buddy Cash.
Don't forget Bum Gino. We're calling him Bum Gino from now on.
Well, he's under the thumb of Cash. But getting back, okay, Nick Fuentes. Candace. Nick Fuentes says, why doesn't she interview me? Nick, it's because she doesn't want to lose her YouTube account. That's it. She puts you on her YouTube account. You interviewed a Nazi. You interviewed a Jew hater. That's the end of your YouTube account, honey doll. Schwarza. Because that's what the Jews call her. They call her a Schwarza. So she wants to try to buddy up to a Jew Weinstein. They look at her and say, the Schwarza. I just laugh at it because I know how Jews think. I grew up in it. All right. Now, as far as the FBI and Cash, here's another bit. I've been vindicated again. I said from the beginning, don't trust Candace Owen. Don't trust her. I got attacked. Oh, you're subversive. She's on our side. No, she's not. She can't be. How can she be? She's married to a white man and her children are mongrels. She can't be. Plus, she got defensive right away. I'm not an anti-Semite. The Jews got you. As soon as you say that, they laugh. We got the Sparta. And they kept on attacking her left, right, center. And she's like, trying to deflect all their attacks on her. No, I didn't say that. I didn't mean this. They get her. She just doesn't understand the Jewish mind. She'll never have me on. I guarantee you she won't. As far as where I'm vindicated again, when I saw that Cash is looked at as a new FBI director, I said, no, you don't want Cash. Cash, yep. His name isn't Cash, like somebody you drink beer with at the local tavern. Give me a break. The man's a Jeep. Probably a urine drinker. He's a Hindu. Now, any Hindu, any Jew that gets in any position of influence, you're guaranteed the Jews got him. I said, don't trust this man. Oh, no, he's going to open up the Epstein files. I says, no, he will not. He will close them. So, what does he do? He gets on with Fox News, with a woman who knows better, Maria, Italian woman, and he gets Bongino to look like a robot. He says, oh, no, maybe there's opinions otherwise, but, oh, no, he killed himself. He acted alone in the whole Epstein, honeypot. He didn't say that. He acted alone. Well, this is a downright bullshit lie. And Don Bongino says, I read the files. He killed himself like a robot. Well, what files? There's a lot of files. There's a lot of testimony about him hanging. There's the autopsy that said his neck was broken in 4 places. I mean, there's a lot of files. There's files that are hidden. Where's the prison files? Did Bongino say that? So even Alex Jones and Owen Schroyer, who really came not against me, but they were contrary, says, no, Cash is our man. He's great. He's going to do the Epstein files. I said, no, he's not. They're finally coming around to my way of thinking a year later. Because I can look at a headline, I can see the Jew agenda just by the headline, just by the way it's done, just by the way Trump talks. I know the Jew behind him and giving him the script. You know his main script writer is a Jew, Stephen Miller? Look at him. He's the most ugliest, hideous thing you ever saw in your life. He's the one that gives Trump his talking points in his script. Oh, we got to do something about this Gaza thing now. But yet he's still sending material support, weapons and money. Same thing with Ukraine. I'm going to settle this thing in 24 hours. But to this day, Marco Rubio just told the Congress, yes, we send weapons and funding to Ukraine. Yes, we do. Well, what kind of negotiation for peace is this? The Russians know this, but they're just going along.
Absolutely. All right, we got a transnational organization.
Tasden.
Okay, go ahead. By the way, I like how I'm giving you the decorum of the space, and you go, keep complaining. So I think we should just
That's just a love tap. We'll take that offensive. That's just a love tap.
Oh, now you're gonna play off like I'm offended. No, see, there's rules, right? Rules are not complaining. It's a little different, but all right, you wouldn't understand. Go ahead.
I would. I'm just giving you a little love tap. That's it. But as I was saying, the elite in the black community, African American community, have always been entertainers and athletes. That's been our elite because that's all we've been allowed under this oppressive regime. To answer the question of the last panelist that directed his question at me, the reason why we have a problem with white nationalism isn't white nationalism per se. Every group deserves to have their tribe respected and to be in their own respective tribe peacefully. Black nationalism is defensive. Historically, white nationalism has been offensive against blacks. When you look at the oppression that blacks have gone through, that's what the hostility is.
The blacks in Germany?
The blacks in the United States. And that's a fact. Now,
white nationalism
it has been oppressive to blacks.
Everything's oppressive to blacks.
When you talk about Jim Crow, when you talk about slavery, when you talk about...
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. Do you believe in systemic racism?
Well, I don't want to get hung up on that because that's the past. So let's move forward.
Well, no, the past, not the past. Do you believe America, as it is today, is systemically racist?
I think that's irrelevant at this point because we all have a common enemy, which is the tyrannical white Jewish ruling class, or the Jewish ruling class.
What do you mean white Jewish?
Let me retort. Let me.
1 second.
Right. So because I don't want to get caught.
There is no white Jewish.
I would say Jewish. I'm not going to say white. Okay.
Okay.
Right, I'll say Jewish just to respect the rule. Right. The Jewish ruling class. I think that they are the enemy of humanity. I think they exploit all of us in one way or another. And as a tactic to overthrow the white Jewish ruling class because of the proximity that the white Jewish ruling class has to the African American community, whether it's hip hop, whether it's the real estate in the community, whether it's the politics, because of the proximity, how close they are to the African American community in exploitation. If you detach that exploitation and you expose it and you pull the rug from under them, when in regards to that exploitation, when you talk about politics, Black Girls Rock, BLM, Black trans rights matters, transgender, black women
Are you an FBA?
No.
Are you with the Re-Ups FBA?
Black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. All those politics do not come from the black community. Those are narratives created by the Jewish ruling class.
How much do you hang out with the black community? I'm starting to wonder. Because they come and hang out with us. They come and argue all this stuff.
I hang out
crap.
I hang out with blacks, whites, Jews. I'm a native New Yorker. So I hang out with a different variety of groups of people. New York is pretty diverse. One of the largest Jewish populations in New York City. In outside of Israel is in New York City. So, I'm pretty diverse when it comes to the groups that I hang out with. And I've also dealt directly with a Jewish oppression in New York City and exploitation because of the proximity to the Jewish community, Crown Heights, Lower East Side of Manhattan, and so on and so on. But once again, I want to keep focused on the common enemy I believe we all have because we're all under the heel of this tyrannical regime. So my overall purpose was just another vantage point to point out another strategy. It wasn't to upset your apple cart and what you guys have going on. I'm really honestly not even concerned with any of that. But just another perspective to put out there that you may want to consider. And I'll land my plane there. And thank you for allowing me to speak on your platform. I was just, you seem a little bit tough. I didn't think he would be too sensitive with me, kind of like taking a little jab there. But moving forward in the future, I wanted to.
No, it's just I have to try to let other people also speak, and I told you about 3 or 4 times. Decorum. Look at all these guys with their hands up, and see they have their hand up. I know they want to speak. I go, Mir, what's up, Mir? Go ahead, brother, hop in. We got Wolf up here. What's up, Wolf?
I mean, he make some good points when he speak about like the whole all together as a collective, as far as like it is a common enemy. And I'm a black American. I mean, I don't know where my ancestors from. You can say that they from Africa. You can say that I'm an African American. But I look at myself as a black American before anything. I'm an American first. Before anything else, I'm an American. So he make a lot of good points. And as far as like the pulling the rug under you, I mean, when you got people in your that say that they in your corner, and it seems like they really are in your corner, even though they're really not talking about Jews. It seems like they got your back, but the whole time it's just a ploy to get more systemic racism going on in the country. It's more behind it. It ain't like they really got your back. It's just a ploy. It's what they use. It's propaganda. It's how they keep the black people, I guess, if you want to say, on their side. You feel what I'm saying? That's what I think.
Do you live in a major metropolitan city?
I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay,
I'm going to the Naval Yard for welding. Yeah, down there.
Okay, yeah. So you definitely know. Now, I don't know. Let me hit some hands. I can monologue, but let's hit. Craigsman had his hand up. AJ, then Yankee. Go ahead, Craigsman. Guys, but let's try to keep the I know people want to come up and say, "Oh, did you see this?" Like, unless it's really breaking news, it's not already up in the nest. Let's try to keep it on the topic. I'd appreciate that. Go ahead, Craigsman. Sorry, Craigsman.
Interesting thought. Would you say it was aggressive when the Jews orchestrated World War I? Would you say it was aggressive when communist political militias were beating the shit out of people in Weimar Germany? Would you say it was aggressive when Hitler wanted to preserve his people? Would you say it was aggressive when anyone defends themselves?
Is it aggressive? Do you have the right to defend yourself? I don't think there's anybody who would argue that everybody should have and does have the right to defend themselves.
It was less a question for you and more for Kasdan, since he kind of portrayed us as the aggressor for everything.
You know what I don't understand?
The Jews didn't.
It's this black elite thing. Like, why are you just throwing a wedge in? Like, you see plenty of black people in New York going to work in very nice jobs. They have a good life. They're not like, certainly that's why I asked you about systemic oppression. You see examples.
They certainly got a better life than I do.
Yeah. So I just don't understand why throw in this like the black elite and all this, because I don't exactly can't even really think of very many things that they have done. I'm trying to even think, and then when you say Bill Cosby is a representative of the black elite, my mind just goes like, I don't even know what you're talking about at that point.
So what I mean is the symbolism. There really is no black elite, but they use those symbols. They use the athletes. They use the actors. That's how they communicate. And they put the facade that they're controlling the politics. They'll get a Magic Johnson to come out at a political rally, a Beyonce, right? That's what I mean. But are they really elite? Do they control anything? No. There really is no control. However, the way they influence, or they believe they influence the community, is through actors and athletes. And when one of those actors or athletes break bad or get out of hand, like a Kanye West, then that's when the sexual assault accusations come up, or that's when they're debanked, right?
So you're talking about
as long as they're pushing the LGBT, whatever political agenda of the Jewish ruling class in the Democratic Party, whatever agenda is being pushed at that time, if the quote unquote black elite breaks bad, then they'll break them the way they did.
So what you're saying is that they use what they basically use black influencers to brainwash black people. That pretty much sums that up. But would you disagree that there are black influencers who truly do like horrible, horrible things? Like, are they actually, like, you're kind of making it seem like they make it up, right? Like, so nothing happened and this person wasn't playing ball and then the whole thing just gets made up. I know perhaps that happens in some cases, you know, with
that's
Michael Jackson, Kanye, right? There are examples of this too, but wouldn't you say that there are black people who do, influencers who do horrible stuff and then want to play ball to try to clear their name and try to, you know, not go to prison for the rest of their lives? Like, wouldn't you say that also happens?
What I'm saying is the same with Jeffrey Epstein, the way he would blackmail the white celebrities, and they have all kind of salacious and crimes on white celebrities. It's the same thing with black celebrities. Those Cosby accusations went back to the 70s. Okay, the Diddy allegations went back 20 years. You don't think they were running surveillance on those guys?
Don't ever forget about Michael.
You don't think they were running surveillance on those guys and knew that behavior was going on? They waited until those guys broke bad.
Wait, but hold on. There are black.
That's what I'm saying.
There are black influencers who spoke out against the Diddy parties, who said you would never, because they knew what that was about. Like, don't you realize that? Okay, maybe the first time it would be like something kind of weird happen, right? And then, but they keep going back, and then eventually they get compromised because they are asked to do crazy stuff. Like the people who were contracting with Epstein, like they knew what they were doing was wrong and horrific, right? Like they were soliciting minors for sex. That's not like a legal thing anywhere. And so you're saying the problem is that they recorded it and then held it over their head, making the whoever violated the kids complicit with the Jewish agenda. But why were they having anything to do with Epstein? There's plenty of black people, you know what, like I think Redman was one of these people. I don't know if it was like the pedos, but yeah, it was the pedo stuff, I think, actually, right? So it's not like they're forced to go to a Diddy party. It's just that if they go there, it's sort of understood that now they're compromised and they could be exposed.
Well, with the Diddy, it's exaggerated. It's a mixed bag. Some of it's true, most of it's not. Nothing illegal was going on at the Diddy parties. Was he committed?
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure you're
sure
wrong about that.
Do you have evidence of that?
You don't think anything was happening at the Diddy parties? Do you remember all those bottles of baby oil?
A dozen of victims saying otherwise.
Well, he's on trial now. He's on trial now, and you don't hear anything about the Diddy parties. He's not being prosecuted for any of that.
Okay, well,
because he's in fucking jail. Of course, there's no Diddy parties when he's in
trial
fucking prison.
Is going on now, and he's not being prosecuted for anything that happened at the Diddy parties.
Well, hold on, we'll see, because it's just started. But let me ask you guys if you know how much we know about Weinstein. Did you guys know that Weinstein, all right, he was arrested in 2018, and 2020 he was convicted in New York. His charges were vacated. And now he's being retried. He's getting a retrial. And guess when his retrial in New York started? April 15th, 2025. Very interesting, okay? I don't know if people knew the timeline on that because this is more recent than I remembered it. But there you go. Harvey Weinstein got a retrial, and it started April 15th. So it's like literally in progress right now.
With the Diddy trial. You notice how they align that with the Diddy trial?
Well, that's why nobody's talking about the Weinstein trial. Candace is trying to clear his name. Perfect timing. Whoa. And everyone's too fixated on the Diddy stuff, which is just going to be, they're just going to, buffer it down as much as possible, right? Like, they don't want this to turn into, to go too far, I think. But yeah, I think Myron's been really digging into every single day. I have not been doing that, and I honestly am not caught up on the Diddy stuff at all. So someone
I just invited him, so you might jump in.
Yeah, if Myron, that would actually be wonderful. Thank you for that, Josie. Yeah, if Myron could give us a run. Yeah, thank you. Okay, cool. I want to go to Yankee. I see Brother Nathaniel, but I think it was Yankee AJ, Brother Nathaniel. Yankee?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. Mir has said less but more than Taz had this entire time. And I want to point out to what Mir was talking about that I thought was important, that the Jews promote and create the illusion of systematic racism, right? We have a Bill of Rights, right? That everyone is treated equally in this country, for better or worse, regardless of whether or not they deserve it. So what's interesting is that what Mir points out, the blacks have been the research and development department for the Jews. Whenever they want to get a special privilege for themselves, whenever they want to create racial tension and division, they first do it with the blacks to see if it works. If it doesn't work, they scratch the idea, and then they try to do it again in a different way. And when it works and when it sticks, then it's applied to the Jews. DEI was a Trojan horse, not for black people. You all did not benefit from that. The Jews benefited from that. And that is how they got themselves on boards and franchised 500 companies. They became the CEOs. They took over Disney and made that a satanic piece of crap. Everything that they have done has been to benefit them. So the idea that there is some systematic racism, that you're suffering from some suppression, may actually be due to the content of your own character and meritocracy of your own ability, rather than some boogeyman that's out there because you're black. But rather, it's an illusion that they create to gather sympathy from their adversaries, the white nationalists, so that they can continue to promote themselves. So I'll end it there.
I empathize with the black Americans and the cause, but you know, when I hear this mindset sometimes, like if my family can come to the U.S. with nothing, and I mean zero, nothing, country bombed to shit, and they can build a good life and contribute, become doctors, engineers, right, all these things. Why can't you? I mean, when I look at the community, they've psyoped you guys with degeneracy. When I look at my black friends who are doing very well, they don't really care about music. They don't really care about what's going on TV or the media. They don't give a fuck. They don't even know who these people are.
Brother Daniel?
Yeah, you have to understand, from the Jew point of view, they don't give a damn about the Schwarzer. They don't give a damn. Diddy, Kanye, they don't give a damn. They let them do the thing, and Kanye just did the Heil Hitler. The Jews laughed at it. They're just a bunch of jungle buddies jumping around half naked. It actually made Hitler look... It played right into the Jewish hands. It made Hitler like a fool. And Hitler was a very serious man and wanted to do something for his political. And he was at the beginning very financially oriented to pull Germany out of the thrall of international Jewish finance. And the one who really broke that story open was Henry Ford Sr., the international Jew. It was a series of articles in the Dearborn Independent, and it became a book. But these are the kind of people that Jews fear. Not Kanye, not Diddy, not Candace Owen, please. They say they're Schwarzes. They don't give a damn about them. So this whole thing of black elite, black this, black actors, forgive me for saying that, but it really is. Because I grew up in Jewry. I'll tell you a story real quick, then I'll get to this point of what the Jews did to Henry Ford and what they went to do with Colonel McGregor and what they did to Larry Johnson. These guys are calling out the Jews. They're calling out the Jews indirectly, but why isn't Colonel Douglas McGregor, why isn't he put in the head of the Pentagon or the National Security Agency? Oh, God, they're not going to let Trump do that. I mean, Trump is totally controlled by the Jews. I mean,
with us, and let's just cut right to it. I want you to explain why you are a no vote on the big beautiful bill.
Well, it spends way too much money. Look, I'm for the tax cuts, extending those tax cuts. I voted for those in 2017. Here's the problem. We're cutting more taxes and we're increasing spending. And to the extent they say we're cutting spending, that doesn't happen in these first few years. They're saying we'll do that in the later years. The problem is the later years never come. It should be T-ball to repeal the Green New Deal, but we're not repealing the Green New Deal in this. The corporate tax subsidies stay in place for at least 4 more years. There's so many problems with this bill that I'm not part of one of those factions you talked about in the intro here. I'm kind of a guy on my own standing up for fiscal responsibility.
You know, Congressman, President Trump had some very unkind things to say about you earlier today. How do you respond to the president's remarks?
Well, I think he was surprised that I came to the meeting today. You know, maybe he thought I would hide, but he asked if I was in the meeting and I raised my hand. He did give me a compliment. He says my hair is very similar to Rand Paul's, except mine is better than Rand Paul's. So things weren't as... there wasn't as much vitriol in the room after the comments that you saw in the press. He also conceded that, you know, I may be kind of smart because I went to MIT, although he reminded us his uncle went to MIT, so he has good genetics. The meeting itself was different than the conversation outside of the room.
And miraculous time. It takes years to create vaccination.
Well, it used to take years.
Okay, it used to.
You know how many years were invested?
So I completely...
And under current law, undocumented immigrants...
Pedro Ramaphosa brought his... I think, in terms of political spending,
There's...
big surprise? Congress is investigating the NGOs that shut down the 12 family farms that we've been talking about. They also
We're here at the Dodger game. We've got the massive slugger dog, man. Look at this. Huge dog. I don't know how long it is, how big it is. It's massive, man. $40 US. French fries. We've got the big dog. Corn chips, beans, salsa, sour cream. Let's try and eat this. Oh my God. Ready? No dog whatsoever. The sausage is actually good, man. I'll mention right now. Try to have the dog that you can see.
If I'm gonna choose a pillow, it's definitely be this one. I can't believe how amazing the memory foam cervical pillow.
A lot of people think that the spontaneous or completely natural life as it's understood by these Far Eastern philosophers is to act according to whim. There was, for example, a great Zen monk lived shortly after 1000 AD, who had a very peculiar way of painting. He had long hair, and he'd get very drunk on rice wine. Then he'd soak his hair in ink and slosh it all over the paper. Then he would do a Rorschach test on it and decide what kind of a landscape it actually was, and then put in the finishing touches. And suddenly, out of this apparent mess, a great landscape would be evoked. But the whole art of the thing lay in putting in the finishing touches.
The Messiah is actually called God in
and
the
also,
New and Old Testament.
there's a very curious thing. If a person who is untrained in painting makes a mess with a brush, it's liable to be just a mess. Whereas if a person who has the feeling of painting in them for a long time, and they make a mess with a brush or just do anything, it looks interesting. And that's why if you try to copy the best people in modern, abstract, non-objective painting, you'll find it's a very difficult thing to do. Because there is more to spontaneity than caprice and disorder. And I want to try and explain what that is. I mean, wouldn't it be great if we could live absolutely on the spur of the moment? Not make any particular plans, not feel that, well, you might make plans because you could make plans spontaneously, but not to worry about whether you had made the right decision, whether you were being good or bad, selfish or unselfish, and not to hesitate in anything, you see.
one of the great applications of Zen, as I pointed out, was to the art of fencing. And when you learn fencing, you see you have to learn to be spontaneous, because here of all places it is true that he who hesitates is lost. If you're engaged in combat, you see, and you stop to think what sort of a defense or attack you ought to make, the enemy's got you. So the way they teach people spontaneity in fencing is very interesting. When you start into fencing school, you of course live with the teacher. He has a kind of ashram. But you're given a janitorial job. You clean up, you wash dishes, you put bedding away and things like that. But while you're going about your daily business, the master surprises you with a practice sword, which is made of 4 strips of bamboo, rather loosely tied together. And he hits you with this, surprisingly and suddenly, from nowhere. And you are expected to defend yourself with anything available.